So when we was at Santa Pod for the Festival of Power, we broke the rear steering ram. So this is the rear steering ram taken apart. So basically, so that piece goes inside there, but what's on the end of that is a piston. So that piston is what holds the oil inside there. So that moves in and out. And what happened to it was it failed and it snapped the end of it off, which of course you lose the seals and then the fluid can move wherever it wants. So we broke that one. So let's put this new piston back in here and get it working again. So the reason I've got cleaned up my bench, put a nice piece of paper down so everything's nice and clean. All of these have been through the parts washer. So then we can bolt this onto there and we use some stud lock. It's got a little O-ring on the bottom of it what locates into there, and that's basically just to keep a little bit of absorption to stop this bolt coming loose. But we thread that lock on as well. And then we have to lubricate the seals before we put it in, and we use the same stuff as actually what we use in it anyway. So we use the Lucas Oil Shore Shift automatic transmission fluid, which is a hydraulic fluid which we use in the steering. So let's put all this back together. Right, so let's put it all back together. So I've got this clamped in the vise. It's got two little flats on it, on the very bottom of it, so we don't damage the thread, because we've got a rod end to go on there. So we got the bolt, I've all cleaned up the bolt, wire brushed it, degreased it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put on the thread lock. A nice coating of thread lock on there. Get the piston, drop it into the piston all the way through. Get the O-ring onto the bottom. In there. I'll put a bit more thread lock on the very bottom of it now. So we're actually using this to grab into the aluminium, lock into the aluminium as well. So it's going to spin the whole thing on. And then we drop that into there. And screw it in. So these bolts are really, really tight fit in there. So you actually just screwing it on with that. So then it's got a spring washer on the bottom of this bolt as well. So then that is in there. Get our socket, so there's an Allen key, goes inside. You just have to tap in a little bit because it's a little bit tight. Do it up so it's really, really tight, and that is the new piston fitted on there. So next we're going to do is we're going to clamp the rest of the shock absorber in the vise, and then we can lubricate the pistons and then actually put it all back together. Okay, so we've got this in the vise now, so that's all clamped in, nice, it's all clean. It's been through my cleaner, dried it all off. Now just get the piston and get some lubrication on it. So we're just going to use the Lucas Oil Shore Shift, because this is actually what's in the power steering on the monster truck. Let's pour a little bit on the seals. Lube that all up. Put that back on. So this is why I used a piece of clean paper, because now that's got oil on it. Just get a little bit on the top here. Just run all that all the way around. And that's all running down the inside now. Now this is the tricky bit. We've got to try and get this into here now. So we have to keep wiggling it and spinning it to try and get the seals in it, because we don't want to rip the seals. It's got a little bit of a leading edge. Once the first seal's in, it's not too bad. Tighten the vise up a little bit more. So that seal is almost in. We are going to have to tap this in with a hammer because these are really, really tight, as you can probably tell. That seal will swell up, and it's got a little of a lip on it. So that's past the lip now. Let's get a hammer and then tap it in. Okay, so we've passed the first seal now. Now this one's a lot easier because this seal is facing the other way. And that is it in. Next, we're going to slide this down, but first I'm going to put some copper or grease spray on this just to make sure this doesn't stick to the aluminium. This is steel on aluminium, and they do like to get a bit of corrosion in there. So we're going to lubricate that up as well, and then we can screw it all back together. All right, so I'm just going to put a little bit of grease on there, just on the threads. And of course that's just in case we get a bit of corrosion between this aluminium piston and the seals. Also, you want to be able to easily undo this. If it gets stuck on there, it's a nightmare. So we put that on there just to make it a little bit easier for when we have to take it apart and change them again. So let's wipe my hands. Now we slide this end cap down. And the thing is with this is make sure we can do it by hand so we know we're not getting it cross-threaded. I think we've started on the threads now. Yeah, it's started now, so we can put the strap on it and then finish tightening it up. So we're just doing it up with the strap now. It has got holes for a C-spanner, but I actually find this is a lot easier to do it up with this and undo it with this. Nearly at the end now. Don't have to do them over tight. There's an O-ring that's in the bottom of this, so I've already lubricated all this before we put it back together. So that is that one done. All we got to do now is to put the rod end on the top. I'm not sure if you can actually see that in the camera shot. Yeah, you can. All right, so yeah, so all we got to do is put the rod end on the top. We're going to lubricate that as well, and then cap up the ends, push this in a little bit, and then that one's ready to go back in the trailer as a spare. And that's it. That's how we fix the rear steering rams on a monster truck.
Suck me in small, breathe me in and let me go. Filling the lungs inside you, and the blackened eyes make my way into your mind, just to know what you need.